Snoopy.
Doesn't even look like a beagle.
Imagine. Wait.
Have you ever seen a beagle that color?
Wait
Beagles
a
are like
minute.
black.
Whoa, whoa,
He's a beagle, yeah.
Whoa. He wasn't like a fucked up Dalmatian, or they just didn't.
No, they said he was a beagle.
Hey, you've never seen the Easter beagle, Charlie Brown?
I just called it Charlie. My mom just said Charlie Brown's on. Wow. Like, well,
Did they not know what most beagles usually look like?
I didn't know that was a.
Well, it was an early
look nothing like
It's
that.
an early comic strip, so he just probably drew whatever.
True.
That was a mind
It definitely
fuck.
looks a little more Dalmatian in a sense.
He does!
Except for the snout. The snout is it's more like beagle type in the ears too.
Well, except the whole like walking on 2 feet and like holding a football.
Oh,
and also
and
moving
paying
said
taxes and stuff. He's basically like a real person.
Alright, let's get this started.
Anyway, guys, hey, welcome back to Actually Anything. It's the podcast that's actually about anything. Peter, why don't you introduce our guest today?
Well, today we are interviewing one of the best stand-up comedians on Staten Island, Mr. Steven Duca.
Nice to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, man. Welcome.
Thank you for coming.
Of course.
How did you two meet?
Well, I guess I would just say we have a mutual friend group.
Lots of mutual friends, and
Lot.
we met at
basically
music
a Staten
shows,
Island thing.
comedy shows, whatever it was. Deli was just there, or Pete. What do I have to call him on the show?
Say whatever.
You
Peter.
got a nickname for you on the show? Or I think it's just Peter.
No, well, usually my life nickname is Deli.
Oh, true. On Instagram it is too.
Deli Sacks.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever go to a Scum Shot show together?
Yeah,
I know you guys are
we-
both like.
We've
Ricky,
been to
right?
several, yeah.
He performed at some. I think
I've
some-
hosted
really?
Scum
hosted
Shot shows.
Scum Shot shows.
I've hosted Gamagool shows, Scum Shot shows. I've known Jamie forever.
Please tell us about the name of the band you're trying to start or had going for a little bit.
All right. So I was in a band. I'm gonna put for this. I will put the one recording of us on YouTube later.
Okay, yes.
That I still have on my phone. Don't worry.
Was that was the Pugs, right?
Yeah.
It's
I think you're in the video. The song, the band is called Cocaine Pizza Party. The origin of this band was I met my friend Joe Scarcella, who's the bassist, freshman year of high school, and we came up with this stupid band name. And for years we'd say, "Oh, Cocaine Pizza Party is gonna play." We put like 40 different people in the band, never planned on playing, and more people knew who we were than a lot of the actual bands that existed. So last year, right before quarantine, we had our first ever show, and then we did all covers. Then we wrote originals, and at our second show, literally 2 weeks before it, and then we shut down the entire United States because the government was afraid of our power.
So
But the song is called Lisa Ann, and it's a love song about the porn star Lisa Ann. I'll put that on my YouTube, Steven Duca Comedy, later today
Cool.
for everyone to see it.
is she your favorite porn star?
Not right now, but she was ever, which is why I wrote a song about her.
I know, but by listening to your stand-up, you have a thing for milfs. So do I.
Obviously, yeah. I mean,
Dude, send her an email, man.
I-
With the
I-
song attached.
I have-
Like,
I have
she might
tried, yeah.
listen, bro.
Wait,
You
did you
never
send her
know.
the song?
she became an uppity bitch. After now
What do you
she
mean up? What do you mean uppity?
she's denounced porn, and now she's better than everybody.
Well, then how do you feel about Brandy Love then?
Brandy Love hasn't denounced porn.
No, but you heard what happened with Brandy Love, what she's been going to, right?
What has she been doing?
Brandy Love's a hardcore Republican, like conservative. I have no problem. She got kicked out of the American Patriot thing. 'Cause
Really? I have a signed picture of her on my wall.
She got like the ass is signed.
Yeah, so I plan.
Where else are you gonna sign?
I want to get a signed. So I have
Oh my
4
God.
reaction figures of. I have the
They
4.
actually have action figures?
No.
Oh.
I have 4 reaction
I know you
figures
said that too.
related to the big 4 of heavy metal, and I want to put them on my wall next to signed pictures of the big 4 of MILF porn. I want that to be a thing on my wall. And I only have Brandy Love so far. I have to meet Cherie DeVille, India Summer, and Lisa Ann to get the.
Cherie DeVille's a good
I
one.
love Cherie DeVille.
She's been. I like the video she's posting with like she's at the gym, and, and then she's like, oh, I think there's like a fan over there, whatever. It's not. We all know it's not
Yeah.
a fucking fan. Booey bush. It's definitely James Dean.
James Dean. No, he's a little blacklisted too for beating people.
Yeah.
Some people still work with him though. I'm a Johnny Sins guy, real stand-up man, and Kieran Lee, who I actually have a picture with.
That's Matt.
Yo, I'll be honest with you guys. I don't really watch porn. I couldn't tell you the last time I watched porn. So you're mentioning names. I'm like, I have no idea.
We're giving statistics like baseball cards, like 17.
I want to do.
Don't they have actual cards?
No,
like
they
that?
don't. My
Are
friend,
you sure?
my friend brought up the idea to me about making porn star baseball cards.
We can.
But in order to get you'd have to get licensing from every star.
Who would you say is the Mount Rushmore of the porn industry?
Forever,
including guys. So Peter North.
So I know he got Me Too'd recently, but you have to put Ron Jeremy on it.
Oh, 100%.
And you have to put Nina Hartley on it.
Ah!
She did porn from the 70s to still doing porn as a gilf and was in Boogie Nights.
But granted, I've looked up Nina Hartley. I watch everything. She's like a gilf. But
she's been around for too long.
so what?
She was in Boogie Nights.
But what has she? But what's the pioneer? Because here's the thing: Ron Jeremy and Peter North broke the stereotype of white guys having small dicks. So I feel like in order to be in the porn industry, you have to be revolutionary.
I honestly, I don't know. With a porn, Mount Rushmore is tough. Because it's tough as a star to actually revolutionize the industry. If you really want to get into people who actually change things, Joanna Angel was the first person. They started allowing tattooed girls and alt porn and all that.
Wait, really? They never? When did they?
That was not a thing. Years ago, that was never a thing.
What was wrong with tattoos?
Nothing was wrong with it. It was just they didn't know there was a market for it, and then she started burning Angel, and now it's...
Why do they think people prefer that? I don't know.
True, that's honestly very true.
The world is weird. We'll get into my similarities between porn and wrestling eventually, but the same thing with wrestling. Before CM Punk, they did not want heavily tattooed guys in wrestling.
Yeah?
They did not.
Okay.
Think back to I'm talking tatted up, not just a couple tats, like someone with...
I already have one. Right?
Who? Go ahead.
Undertaker.
Did he have a lot?
Heavily?
Undertaker sleeved
True,
out.
true.
Not yet. He got them later.
No, American Badass, 2004.
Yeah, that was later on. He was already established. He did whatever he wanted. He was the Undertaker.
I'm really trying to think right now. That's very true. I don't remember any type of...
Yeah, back then there were no heavily tatted wrestlers. None. Then, and a lot of the older ones, like Randy Orton got sleeves later.
That's true.
Rey Mysterio got them later.
True, yeah.
It's weird.
We're talking about wrestlers. You guys like John Cena at all?
I think he's
doing all this acting now.
They played out his character in wrestling. Played out his character, but he was great at what he did. He stuck to character. He stuck to kayfabe, and he was always good in the ring. So I have no problem with him.
Iconic theme song too.
He was the star.
Yeah,
everyone's gonna wind up hating the superstar. And I have no problem. I think he's really funny.
I
think
feel like
he's
that's why he's one
actor.
of the first people that started getting into acting too.
He's
he
a
was
great comedic actor.
The Rock.
WWE.
The Hulk.
Did he do it first with The Rock or?
The Rock was the first person to make it.
Oh, right.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. Okay, make it is true. That's the wrestling. He's right on that. The wrestling dream.
There's two wrestlers who were in it before him, and both of them actually got an act and get their SAG cards, so they get health insurance. And that's Terry Funk, who was in quite a few movies with Stallone, and then he was in Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, and then Roddy Piper, who's in They Live, and Hell Comes to Frogtown. But they were both actors to get their SAG cards, just so they could get their health insurance.
You know, I like The Rock. In general, cool guy, decent actor. But the only thing with his acting is that he kind of plays the same. He just plays The Rock in like every movie. I'm not like complaining about it too much, but it's just I feel like that's just his.
Well, he's just one of those like typecast actors,
right?
So you know his role. But now here's the one question I want to bring back. So, how much of were you a big wrestling fan growing up?
Not. I would watch it sometimes, but I didn't really watch it. Not like a huge fan, no.
Okay, so the one thing I didn't really understand as a kid when it came to wrestling was the importance of psychology and how the importance of timing.
It's the most important thing.
It's the most important thing, and also not not also the expression that you have on your face, but also the reason why you're having that expression. And what is in your mind? How much? Okay, so in my mind, one of the best technical wrestlers, Eddie Guerrero. You can say Chris Benoit, and there's a whole list of names I'm missing.
We just got to
Bret
off
Hart.
YouTube.
No, you can.
I'm kidding. You can mention Chris Benoit.
What is it that makes a great wrestler? How much would you say is let's just say the actor, the charisma, compared to being able to safely and accurately conduct the moves?
When it comes to appealing to a hardcore fan, charisma is more important than I'm sorry. When it comes to appealing to a casual fan, charisma is more important. To a hardcore fan, I gotta say it's 50-50. There are a lot of people these days, they love like AEW. I like AEW, the new wrestling promotion for anyone watching who doesn't know. But a lot of the guys in that promotion will just go out there and just do cool moves, and it just like gets boring because they're just doing moves. But then, like, I like Daniel Bryan, who I think is actually one of the best wrestlers ever. Now Bryan Danielson, because he left WWE. But he gets in there, he can't do that anymore. But he gets in there, he does the moves, and he has the psychology, and he makes the match make sense. He has the charisma. When you got to have everything to really be a star.
For sure.
Because, like, anyone who was a megastar had everything. Like, you can't, there was never a wrestler who only, there are wrestlers who only had charisma, like Goldberg, but that wouldn't work now.
I wouldn't even say he even had that much charisma.
He had it then, when they made it work.
But I feel
Hogan only had charisma. He could work if he wanted to, but in WWF, when he was a big star, he only had charisma and did 3 moves.
But he changed his moves. But if you watch old Hulk Hogan when he was in Japan,
he changed. Yeah, no, obviously
he changed his style.
He can move. He can work. But in the running joke back then was, while Flair was still wrestling, Hogan would already be in the shower at the hotel. Like,
so does that make so the one thing, because you ever see I was watching like old interviews, and they were interviewing Hulk Hogan, and I forgot what it was, who the announcer's name was, but he was basically saying Ric Flair is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and Hulk Hogan's like, he's not.
Not anymore. He changed his mind. Hulk Hogan actually, in an interview today, I'm not kidding, today he said Ric Flair's number 1, I'm number 2, and Stone Cold's number 3, which is a ballsy statement, putting himself at number 2, but whatever.
I brought up John Cena before because his latest role is Peacemaker in the Peacemaker show on HBO, and I didn't watch the last episode yet. I don't know if you guys watched it.
I haven't watched it, but
I want to.
Funny.
He is hilarious.
Yeah,
he is a great comedic actor. I say it all the time. He's a fantastic comedic actor. I'm very happy he's found his niche, because when he first started acting, he tried to do action movies, because obviously if you look like that, you're going to try and do action. Yeah, all of his action movies sucked. Then he started doing bit parts in comedies, like in Trainwreck, he was hilarious. And then in...
Some people just gotta find like their niche. Or am I more of an action star, horror, comedy,
I've only
whatever,
seen his scene in that movie with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler where they throw a party at their parents' house. But in his scene, he plays a drug dealer, and he's hilarious. He's a great, funny guy.
Yeah, man.
And I'm glad he finally found what he's supposed to do. He's not meant to be in action movies, even if he looks like that.
In my opinion, you know who got screwed in WWF?
Who?
CM Punk should have been Casey Jones with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
What's WWF?
Or same thing.
Basically, so WWF was called the World Wrestling Federation, but then they had the same name as the World Wildlife.
Oh yeah, because they wouldn't let him. They wouldn't let him, right?
They
sued.
That,
though. That's funny.
They were in a lawsuit, so basically they didn't change the name yet. So if you go back and watch old videos of WWF from like 2001, they're all, everything that has the F is blurred.
Ease Entertainment, right?
Yeah, Ease Entertainment.
Okay.
Now you're not even allowed to say that. Now they're just WWE because they don't want you to use the word wrestling.
Because the whole
what?
The whole
You ever heard about this?
No.
So the whole thing is with wrestling back in the day. Technology actually killed the business, because back in the day, there's something called kayfabe, which I don't know the actual definition, but pretty much.
I have it.
Go ahead. Take it away.
So what it means is the part that's fake. So like in kayfabe, the Undertaker is a zombie, right? That's like the example I
Right.
can think of. The word came from back at when they used to do wrestling at carnivals. And before people knew what Pig Latin was, people would say "aikfe" for fake, and it became kayfabe. It's a whole, and then it was a name where wrestlers would collect under the name kayfabe. There's a lot of weird history of it, but kayfabe used to be the most major part of wrestling. Wrestlers, if heels and faces weren't allowed to be seen together, that's bad guy, good guy. You weren't allowed to pretend to be friends. You weren't allowed to do outside appearances, outside character. Now no one gives a shit because everyone knows it's fake, right? But it died because of the internet, basically, and because Vince McMahon said it was fake.
Yeah, because you see the wrestlers now, like for example, all going out to dinner and tweeting about it, and back in the day it wasn't like that. Like for example, in the '60s, there were riots in some wrestling events where the heels were hated so much by the fans. Like fans would run in and attack the heels. Like
people got stabbed.
People got heels got stabbed.
I can't believe I've never heard.
But a lot of I didn't know about this either. But then I started listening to Jim Cornette, who's this old wrestling head, and he was this old wrestling scout, wrestling.
He was
agent,
He was a manager. He ran companies. It's very.
You think the reason we didn't know is because they were trying to keep that on the low? Like, no, that wasn't really happening. Like,
No, well, that was the whole point. Well,
because then they would have maybe canceled wrestling in general, right? Like the.
Well, that's why it's going down now. Well, for me personally, I never really knew so much. I was never interested into the backstory of wrestling until I started getting older and listening to Jim Cornette and starting to realize, like, no, wait a minute, this is actually a very.
I didn't mean to do that. I'm uploading the Cocaine Pizza Party video as we speak for the fans.
Do you have a music video?
No, it's a live video from the show. That's all I have.
Oh, okay.
But
we want to have bands on it, and in the future we're gonna have bands on the show. We want to play like their music videos if they have in between certain takes. That'd be cool. That's pretty disappointing.
No, but the one point I just want to make with wrestling, it's when you look at it from like the perspective, it's just people forget Monday Night WWF Monday Night Raw is the greatest television show of all time because it is a television show. Consistently on Monday nights for like 30 years straight, that time frame is the highest. That show is the most viewed show.
Yeah,
every Monday.
Sure.
Ever, for like 30 plus years.
It's over. Like I think it was 1,200 episodes now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's crazy.
And I remember when I was in CSI and when I was getting into production class, where I just took like my intro to cinema. The professor was like, write like your favorite shows and favorite movies, and I didn't write it, but someone else wrote it. He wrote like he was reading the names. He was like, Friends, Breaking Bad, whatever. He was like Raw, and the guy and the professor didn't know. He was like, he was like Raw. What the fuck is that? And the kid was like Monday Night Raw, and then the professor was just like, but he was like this yuppie who wore like a scarf in 98 degree
weather. So he was like, that doesn't count.
He was like, that doesn't count. And the kid was like, no, it's scripted. He was like, it's fake. No, the professor said it's fake. And then the kid said,
it's like, exactly.
He said that's the point.
All the other shows people mentioned, they're fake too. Like,
they didn't get into it. But if that was me, I would have probably had to been like carried out in a fucking in a straitjacket.
It's a scripted
That's
show.
I respect you though, Pete.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's funny. I think I probably know the kid who wrote that down.
Yo, guys, this is perfect because we're talking about wrestling. Just like a few days ago, there's this South Park episode where the kids are watching like WWE or F.
That's the best.
And they're like, oh, this is awesome. Wrestling is so cool. So they're like, hey, why don't we, in school, there's a wrestling program. Why don't we try to join the team? So now you got this like medal, gold winning, silver, bronze, professional wrestling, like real wrestling teacher. So he puts Cartman and Butters like in a position so like they could wrestle. And he's like, Carmen's like, dude, what the fuck? And they immediately start saying, oh, this is gay, whatever. And then they start their own.
They start the wrestling thing.
Yeah, it's so funny. And then you get people that are like, oh, this is awesome. Like, they're getting into the backstory. Carmen's dressed up as like a fucking girl. He's like talking about a baby.
But they act that's
so funny.
No, but that was a real storyline they did back in the day with Vince Russo.
And Lolita did it later on after Vince Russo.
Yeah, they had actually, like, one of the characters had, like, a miscarriage.
Right.
Like, pretend to have a miscarriage. But the funniest thing is about the episode of South Park was, because the gym teacher got mad tight, he was like, that's not wrestling, that's wrestling, and shows him the video of him competing in the Olympics. Yeah. And then later on in the episode, you see, the principal goes up to him, he's like, hi, we have to let you know, we have to fire you for the gay porn we found on your phone. He's like, what gay porn? And they play his college.
Dude, it's mad depressing because at one point he's sitting in a room in his house, medals everywhere, and he's crying, and I'm like, dude, I feel like shit like that's happening now. Like, people are putting so much effort into their career.
It's weird because a lot of wrestlers like that just get into pro wrestling. Like Kurt Angle, for example. You could Brock Lesnar, Dolph Ziggler, a lot of NCAA champions because you could transfer it over. You gotta just admit to yourself, okay, this is fake, but whatever.
Shelton Benjamin.
There's tons of them. The list goes on and on. A lot of people were shooters before they were in pro wrestling. That's my one issue with that South Park episode, because I know no one really knows, but it's kind of inaccurate. I don't care. It's funny. It's a funny episode.
Oh, come on. I feel like
it's funny. I like it. It's just I'm just like, this is unrealistic. damn cartoon.
They're too much.
Yeah.
All right. So really, now this is interesting. Thing I just thought about because you mentioned South Park.
Yeah.
If they did, do you believe that South Park actually had a hand in breaking down, like, norms when it came to just comedy?
Yes.
Or comedy you could show just on TV?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Sure. The cartoons in general, it was a push, because you gotta think, just 6 or 7 years before South Park, Simpsons came out, and people were pissed. Like the Simpsons was this hated thing, and that, like, it was a bad influence on families and all this stuff.
I think South Park did what a lot of other shows were afraid to do.
Yeah, they absolutely did. It was the cartoons throughout the 90s into the 2000s it was Simpsons, and everyone was pissed. And Simpsons was the only one for a while. Then South Park came out, and everyone was really pissed.
Especially because they were like kids cursing, kids in 5th grade.
But it was a phenomenon to the point where it got a theatrical movie in 3 years.
Yeah, bro, they're on their 25th season right now.
Yeah, it was a phenomenon, and it pushed people to, kind of broke down. And then after that, Family Guy came out. Family Guy was on a network.
They're good too.
Yeah, Family Guy went majorly down the tubes, a lot more than South Park did, but they were on a network saying all that stuff. And a lot of people don't know this, but Family Guy got mysteriously canceled when it got canceled the first time, after Seth MacFarlane made a Weinstein joke at the Oscars.
Oh, he did. Huh?
Yeah, and they got mysteriously canceled.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then another show that I'm glad I get to bring this up, because no one talks about it, Drawn Together. It's on, for anyone watching this, it is, I think, Paramount Plus. It's on either Paramount Plus or HBO Max. It is the single most offensive show ever made. Yeah. It's worse than anything. It's crazy. I couldn't. When I watch it as a kid, I just laugh. Now watching back to it as an adult, I'm like, I cannot believe this made it on TV 20 years ago. Like, this is wild.
Drawn Together was pretty wild.
I don't want to say a joke from the show, because I can't. Like, every joke was either racist. Every racist, sexist. Yeah, no, it's great. Let me just lay down the concept. Let me lay down the concept. Okay. So,
I'm like, really.
It's Big Brother, but it's 8 characters from different cartoons. So they're all generic. So you got.
Okay.
I'll go least ridiculous to most ridiculous. You got Captain Hero, who's a superhero, but he's like bisexual, and it's really weird. You got Xander, who's like Link from Zelda, but he's gay. You got Spanky Ham, who's voiced by Adam Carolla, and is an early internet cartoon. And he's just super offensive and does like fart jokes. You got Princess Clara, who's a Disney princess, but she has several issues that make her different. Like her curse is that she has a octopus for a vagina.
Picture Betty Boop, but an
and then Betty
alcoholic.
Boop, Toot Bronstein, and everyone calls her fat because back then they were kind of fat. Like Betty Boop's kind of fat compared to
I
now.
thought she was already an alcoholic.
So everyone calls her fat. Then you got Ling Ling, who's Pikachu and speaks in a racist Japanese accent.
So is it just like Nintendo characters?
No. The only
joking.
two.
No, it's
Well, Xander's more of a generic video game character. But he's gay. But the hook is that he's gay. And
It's like Super Smash
and then
Bros.
you got
pretty much. It's fucking.
and then you got two more. You got Waldor
Oh, God.
Sockbat, who's
Oh.
like a wild, like SpongeBob type,
Okay.
like just
yeah.
wacky character. And then you got Foxy Brown, who's a character from a 70s blaxploitation cartoon. And it is just nuts. Every episode, there's episodes where, like, Captain Hero gives Foxy Brown cancer from using X-ray vision on her. And that's like the brunt of what I could say. Like, it gets so nuts. And it's still around because no one remembers it or knows about it. But one day someone's going to find it and
The
be like...
wrong no, correction. The right person's gonna see it.
I plugged a show that was on like 15 years ago. More people. It's available, guys. It is available. Go watch it.
Send me the
please.
link after this.
Let me
right now, if you want.
let me double check what. I'm pretty sure it's on Paramount Plus because it was Comedy Central, but some things wind up on HBO Max. Yeah, it's streaming on Paramount Plus. Most offensive show ever made. Go watch it. They shouldn't have been allowed to make it then, and it definitely won't be allowed now. And they're better at making fun of other shows than any other show is. Like, one episode they wind up at Hot Topic, and they were like, I want to go buy my merch. And she's like, ooh, look, the King of the Hill boring helmet. She puts on, and she
No,
goes,
the underrated-
this is almost as boring as watching the real show. And I love King of the Hill, but it's just like, I love the stage.
Another underrated show, King of the Hill.
It's all dry humor.
I love it.
Yeah,
though.
it's so good.
I love it.
Sit down, actually watch it. You'll enjoy it. On paper, it's weird, but all right, let's go. What do you
I
want?
never watched it much, but Futurama, they're supposedly bringing back like another season or something.
Futurama has been brought back about 4 times,
Oh
and I'm
God,
sick of it.
yeah, I
I
don't
never
think
watched
it's not gonna-
Futurama.
I love
I never really
Futurama.
got into it either.
I
couldn't-
love
I don't
Futurama,
know.
and it's enough. Like it
Don't get
came
me wrong,
back,
it's
so
definitely
it
funny
came back
sometimes, but-
as movies, and then the movies did so well that they
I
brought
did
it back
see
on
the
Comedy
movie.
Central, and then it ended. It got a real ending, and now they're bringing it back again. It's like, guys, we have enough. Like, you don't need to do it again.
Well, speaking of offensive, so let me ask the $1 million question. Why stand-up comedy?
I just like it. I don't know. I like being on stage. I like being the center of attention, I guess. I don't think I'm that offensive, but I am definitely offensive.
Tell
Well, someone called you a racist.
I've been called a lot of things.
Yeah?
I have literally.
Everyone gets called a
I have
racist.
literally one joke that even involves black people, but it's a comparison to the fact that I'm autistic, and I say that them making the symbol for autism a puzzle piece is essentially like if they made the symbol for Black Lives Matter a watermelon. And every black person has immediately understood what I mean, and they love it. But uppity white women fucking hate it. And they come right up to me after the show
Why
and
is
they're
it
like,
always like the
you're
white girls
racist.
that go-
And then a black guy's like, no, he ain't. That was a great joke. I'm like, all right. I guess I'm going to go with them.
That is so weird.
I've killed in black rooms. Like, they don't care.
Was that at Pugs?
That happened to Pugs, yes.
Oh, no surprise.
Oh, who cares?
It's like at the end of the day, they know you're not.
Like, what? I don't.
Making
The
fun.
last thing I care about is what uppity white women think. Like, if you want to do comedy, you got to throw them out immediately. You have to care about what the minorities actually think of.
No, what, you mean throw them out? You mean security just don't even let them walk through the door?
I am.
Or just like
No, get them out of your head because
Just
it's
say heckle them. That's
it
usually
is what it
crowds
is
do.
because like they're a this is gonna get me canceled right now. They're a false minority. like they want to be a minority so bad and they aren't.
Who?
Privileged white women.
Privileged white women from
Uppity
NYU.
white women, yeah, from NYU, yeah. It's like because Like, I've never had a problem
NYU or
from my
something
jokes
else.
from any actual minorities.
I do like the school.
So now this brings up an interesting point. Now, how much do you feel? Because now imagine you're an up and coming comic. Now you already just had someone brand you or just get up in the middle of your set and say you're a racist. Now, how do you feel like that has changed comedy as a whole?
I think there's a lot of people out there now more than ever who are trying to feign being either woke or they're trying to feign one way or the other. I feel like a lot of people are no longer trying to be themselves. I feel like some people go up there and they push to be that. I hate saying right wing because it's really not right wing, but for all intents and purposes, like that right wing, like overly offensive brand of humor, and then you have people going up there trying to push the other side and being overly woke or whatever, you know? Like, I go up there and I try and be myself. None of my stuff is forced. I try not to do too much topical humor unless I think the joke is really good. I've obviously made jokes before about political situations or whatever, but they usually cut back to my stupidity.
Okay.
Like one of my big things. I've done this joke forever, but it always has a different punchline about how I don't think I should be allowed to vote. And I've had 3 punchlines. The first one I ever had was that if they let a bunch of people like me vote, we would have picked a much better WWE Hall of Famer than Donald Trump to be president. we'd have the Undertaker up there like, Russia will rest in peace. And then the second one is,
Probably would have been better.
all my opinions are based on complete stupidity. Like, I'm all for universal health care because universal health care would push all the good doctors to cosmetic surgery so we'd have better fake boobs. Like, you don't want me up there voting.
Well, I feel like, for me,
my third one's new, so come to the show.
Yo, tell them about the whole comedy.
The fest?
Yeah. The comedy festival.
Yeah. So on Staten Island, we actually we run a festival called Borough Comedy Festival. We're kind of a collective. Whenever we run a show, it's called Borough Comedy Presents. It's me, a couple other guys. You could look them up anywhere. There's Greg and Rob. They're twins from here. John Kirshner. He actually lives in Jersey now, but he's one of the biggest runners of the festival. Patrick Haggerty. Is that all right? Plug all my friends. Nick Cara, Farouk Hussein, who I think you might know.
probably
He's friends with the group.
Okay.
That. I'm trying. I don't think I forgot anyone super major who does comedy all the time.
No, well, they're probably not.
Yeah, whatever. They're not gonna watch us anyway. But I plugged enough. We do this comedy festival, Fifth Borough.
Yeah,
we have people submit from all over the city, and some people have actually come in. We've had people come in. They've flown in from
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Wow.
at the end of the day, you are still doing a comedy festival in New York City.
And they only do it on this borough. Or...
We've expanded, but
All right, good.
so
You
the
should.
first
Yeah,
the
that's
first
all
year
fine.
was kind of a disaster because we tried to have Staten Island headliners, and I'm just gonna say I don't care, man, they suck. They're all old. They're all old, like my kids, my wife, and
Like a wannabe Andrew Dice.
yeah, all of them.
They're probably like the toy
yeah.
police or...
Some of them are
They have pensions.
Yeah,
and
like
fucking
some of them are teachers. It is what it is. Look, the second year was a much better show. We had bigger headliners. The only headliner first year we had Louis J. Gomez from Legion of Skanks.
I like Legion of Skanks
Before
a lot.
they got big, we had him.
That's sick.
He did Dock Street.
He
He
did?
headlined Dock Street. Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
And Nico White, maybe you heard of him. Yeah,
I
he's
don't know Nico White.
the second year, we kind of shied away from bigger headliners, and we just did more us. Second year was our best year by far. Third year was COVID. We did it all outside, and that's where we were forced to expand. We did a show outside. We did like 3 shows outside in Jersey. We did a show in Brooklyn, which is actually headlined by our biggest headliner ever, who only did it because nothing else was going on, Janine Garofalo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Our biggest headliner ever. This year, we almost had Don Jameson from That Metal Show. But he wound up on a tour. I actually did do a show with him. He hosts an IOU now, so he'll probably be on this year. He's supposed to headline Pugs. But yeah, we're gonna do it again in September. You know,
Cool.
any wannabes watching this, get a tape, submit. If you're from Staten Island,
What's the email that they can submit to? Or?
just go to our website, fifthboroughcomedy.com. Actually, let me check because it changed.
You know, it's kind of ironic that you say, because you said the Staten Island headliners weren't that great, but I feel like there's a decent amount of comedians that are from here that became successful. Like you could even say
don't
like
don't you fucking mention Pete Davidson. Don't
I
you
was
fucking-
gonna,
and
but
don't
like
you fucking
I would have rather
mention
said
Pete
that guy
Davidson.
Colin, I guess. I was gonna say Practical Jokers actually. I feel like
Yeah,
they're not like stand-up
Fifth-
comedian. Well,
Fifth-
actually, the guy Sal does stand-up.
fifthboroughcomedy.com.
What's it called? Fit what?
fifthboroughcomedy.com. If you click producers, you can see a picture of me at the bottom because they're jealous.
Is that the picture with the wrestling belt? Over?
No, I wish. I actually, so I had them, we did posters for the festival of each comedian that made it. I had do one official looking one and one of me with these two friends in bikinis. And I have it ready to rock at all times. But, the festival's a lot of fun, and everyone who's ever come down to it has a good time because we get good people who submit. And we try and book it per room. Like I was at the meeting for the letting people in, and there were people who they really didn't want to let in,
Why?
and for whatever reason,
Okay.
it's all a bunch of bullshit backstage politics. But there were two people, and if either of you are watching this, you're welcome. There was one who was a girl who was a neuroscientist turned cam girl, and I'm like, this girl's gonna kill at Pugs. Like, let's put her at Pugs. There was another guy who I ran into in the bathroom at a deathmatch wrestling show, and I'm like, this guy's gonna kill at Pugs. And I forced each of them on him, and they both landed on Pugs, and they both murdered. You gotta book per show. You gotta know your audience, because Pugs is gonna be mostly my idiots, right? And they show up and they're like, "Oh, the cam girl." People were like, "Yo, this girl's sick." I actually did a roast battle against her and lost. It's also on my YouTube.
Oh, you did? That's funny.
Watch it with the Cocaine Pizza Party video.
What's your YouTube channel?
Steven Duca.
I'll put it in the
Yeah.
description.
Yeah, put it in the description. Thank
Yeah.
you. It's
You're welcome.
there's a 30-minute comedy thing on there from early. It's still good. Watch it. I have content, not that much, but there's content. There's
Something is
It's
better
like you're
than
real.
nothing.
Don't worry. You're out there.
there's a half hour, a more recent like 5-6 minute set, a roast battle, and a song. A love song about a porn star.
You know who should come to this comedy festival? You guys know Eric D'Alessandro?
We've tried to get him.
He won't do it? Really?
Him, we've tried to get. So, in all honesty, our most likely is Pete. Because Kirshner used to drive Pete around when they were coming up together. And then Nick Cannon saw both of them, picked Pete, and that was the end of that. But if there's a more likely one, I don't see it happening, but it's him. Eric D'Alessandro, he didn't want to do it. Vic the Bennett.
Shout out to Eric.
If you want to do it, please.
Yeah, you should, man. We
beef
all love you here.
We don't have beef with you. I don't know what happened there. Vic DiBenedetto, or whatever the hell his name is, he was like, "You can't afford me," and I was like, "All right, go fuck yourself."
Oh, scumbag.
Yeah. You know, we try and get like minor names. Like we would want to try and get Jeanine Garofalo down here. Plug Larry Sanders show, which she was on, great show, HBO Max. I'm just gonna plug a bunch of underrated comedy shows, and you guys are gonna go watch them, and you're gonna be like,
Fucking at this point, trying to get Rich Voss. Get Rich
"I have a
Voss.
Rich Voss story."
Oh.
Not me. Kirshner, when he was young, he got Rich Voss to do the cup.
Wow.
He paid him $500 and had the worst crowd ever, and they just shit all over him. Him and Bonnie McFarlane both came down, and they just shit all over him the entire show.
That's fucking funny.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. We definitely had one other, like, decent name, and I can't think of who it was. I'm, like, losing my head thinking of it. Jeanine Garofalo was the biggest. But now, the fourth year, which I just totally went off track, which was the year we were kind of back, because Inside was allowed again, we had, like, 3 shows in Jersey, but most of our shows out here. But it's good to spread to Jersey. Because, like,
it's a bigger market.
There's a lot of comedians out there. And, you know, they want to do their Jersey stuff, they come here, we go there.
Yo, one day, you know, you guys just do it in New York, but one day it could be a tour. Like you go to a bunch of different states.
Honestly, we have talked about doing that because
possible
promoters in other states, they hear New York City and they're just like,
yeah, sure, yeah,
show up.
Yeah,
it's the accent.
My friends have done it. Like the twins have done it. They've gone to like other states and gotten like $400 to do shows and stuff. I actually have. You want a good story about this? I got a great story.
Right. I love your stories.
So what they do is they'll hit up random venues in other states and be like, "Hey, we're comedians from New York. Here's our fee." I think they say $300, and sometimes people bite. Sometimes they don't. Who cares? They hit up a bowling alley, a duck pin bowling alley, which is like, from what I could tell, autistic bowling, because it's like there's a small ball and it's only 9 pins. Like, what are you doing? But
why
so
not?
one
I
pin
feel
make
like
that much of a difference.
So I don't know. It's duck pin bowling. So duck pin. I gotta check some.
Is that Pete Davidson there, Mac?
Imagine no. Duck pin bowling. They hit them up. They say, yeah, we might be interested. They don't say anything for a month. So the twins hit back up and they're like, hey, are you guys still interested? And the guy goes, yeah, you guys got Louis C.K. and start digging around. So the twins, they go to every comedian they know and go, hey, just got besmirched. Can you guys go review bomb? And no one said no. So I just went to this place, no ducks, 0 out of 10. And other people start going in. And there were like one guy was like, me and my daughter went there and they couldn't accommodate my giant penis and like weird shit.
It's like my autistic daughter got her hand stuck in the ball and she slid down.
So you've heard of Opie and Anthony, right?
Yeah, they're great.
So apparently there's this abject hatred for Anthony Cumia's brother.
Joe?
Yeah. So they go on the Opie and Anthony Reddit, they make a fake flyer for Joe's band playing at this bowling alley. And the Reddit starts attacking. I'm talking, and we get they get name dropped, and the Reddit just goes.
They fucking dox the fucking
yeah,
owner.
the owner, and the owner is like, he goes to Greg, and he goes, can you please call your dogs off? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he makes a whole post about, the owner makes a whole post, I'm sorry we offended the Staten Island comedy troupe and they came for us, you know, all this horrible stuff that they're writing. And then 8 people comment, how dare you lie? You work with Joe Cumia. So not only did we get this bowling alley back, right? We managed to get the heat off us entirely because the whole Reddit thinks that it's over Joe Cumia.
I'm surprised Joe Comey didn't find out. Give you guys shit.
I don't know if he was involved. Who cares? Imagine
he's like, imagine he wanted to go to this bowling alley. He has an autistic daughter.
Not me, but my friends have worked with Compound Media before and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Haggerty, who's one of my closest friends in comedy, he during Skankfest was part of the Naked Roast Battle.
Is that on YouTube?
No, no cameras, and the crowd's naked too.
That's mad funny.
I actually would have done it if I was free because it was a spot. But I suck at roast battles.
I would have done that.
But he
Do you like the Jeff Ross roast battles?
Yeah, well, that was actually where the offshoot of that, the Comedy Fight Club that I've done.
Dope. Okay.
Kind of went through that.
Oh really?
Yeah, because the Jeff Ross roast battles, the New York version of it was with Louis J. Gomez.
Oh shit.
And then Jeff Ross was like, with him, and then he started doing it on his own, and eventually his shit ended, and then he linked up with Comedy Fight Club. So it went 4 times, but the roast battles I have done have been on Gas Digital and stuff like that. But yeah, so Pat was on the Jim and Sam show on Sirius, naked, with this girl Jess, and I think, from what I understand, they had to strip down on the show and then do the roast battle later.
That's mad.
You know, one of my favorite stand-up comedians of all time has got to be Bill Burr.
Bill Burr's the man.
He's awesome. There's
he's
a
great.
few specials on Netflix. I actually saw him on Staten Island. So he was not opening. He was the headliner, but Pete Davidson opened for him. It was him and Judd Apatow.
Yeah.
It was basically for the King of Staten Island movie. It was like a comedy tour. Yes. It's funny because I know you're not a big fan of Pete.
Not really.
He went on second or first. I'll be honest with you guys. I kind of like him. Look, I like the movie. I think he's funny in person when he's around people, but stand up, I thought he was horrible. Like I thought it was terrible.
Do you know
they gave him.
No offense, Pete, but
yeah, you know he used to do stand up at Joe Scarcella's basement.
Yeah.
He used to. Were you there for all that when he used to like rehearse? Pete Davidson used to do stand up in our friend's basement, and he used.
Really?
Wasn't his best friend in high school Chris Toronto too from Figurehead?
They were boys.
They were boys.
Pete was boys with a lot of people.
I don't know. I
That's
knew
pretty
nothing
cool.
about Pete Davidson until he got famous, and then people were like, "Yo, I actually knew this kid."
SNL stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he started doing comedy in high school. I was never there for the Joe Scarcella's basement ones. But they gave him an hour special very early. SMD that was on Comedy Central. That was probably like a year or two after he made it. And it gave a bad taste to everyone's mouth because, like, just for an example of people who are huge now, like Sebastian Mascalco.
Yeah, he's great.
So the first time I ever
hilarious.
saw him was on Comedy Central Presents.
That was like a 30-minute.
Yeah, it wasn't even 30. It was like 22, 23 minutes. And that was his first time, like, in a special on TV, and he was already in the game for like 10 years. Like, they give a lot of people specials too early, and they tank.
You know, I saw Sebastian at a small comedy club in New Jersey.
Stress Factory?
Yeah, I think
saw him
so.
there too.
And now, like the only place you're gonna see him is like the Garden
Or like Vegas.
So it was kind of
or something
cool,
like that.
you know, like to see him when he was kind of just.
Yeah, it happens like that.
Yeah,
John
man.
Mulaney is another one who I saw on Comedy Central Presents, and he was already years in, got his first half hour, and neither of them got their big hours till a year or two after that. Sebastian got an hour on Comedy Central, which was basically the half hour plus, and then he got an hour on Showtime like 5 years later.
You know who I think is a comedian's comedian and it's someone I think should be a household name? Doug Stanhope.
Doug Stanhope's great.
But he's just, some people will not just like him just by his, he's just one of those, he's just what I said, a comedian's comedian in my opinion.
You know, rest in peace, Bob Saget. But I think he was a pretty like funny dude, a little dark, and like I get why people weren't crazy about it.
I didn't love his stand-up, but I hear he was a good guy, and
that's what I'm saying.
I liked him. Like, I mean, he was good on Full House in that role.
I never watched Full House.
No, it's a decent show.
It's one of those things where watching it now, you'd be like, "This is trash." Well, it was a kid show.
Okay.
It was a family-oriented sitcom.
Does his humor? Okay, now is his humor the type of humor that wiststands the test of time, or it's something that's is more like a novelty?
Like he died, and people are like saying good, you know, like he didn't deserve. Like people, it's just terrible. It's
his
like
best friend and fellow recent death, Norm Macdonald, was a much more comedian's comedian.
Oh, I love Norm Macdonald.
Norm Macdonald was something else.
So this is the one point I wanted to bring up to you. We were talking about on the way here. So, Ari Spears went on. I remember the Breakfast Club, and basically everyone in the Breakfast Club was saying that Kevin Hart's one of the best comedians ever. And Aries was a little bit combative on that. He was basically saying,
I don't think I would agree with that either.
I wouldn't agree, but the one thing a lot of people aren't aware of is Kevin Hart. I don't know if you have more inside scoop than me, but he has a team of writers that follow him all the time, and basically, so he'll say a joke, and then he'll have like a team of writers say, "Whoa, that was a good, but you can change it up like this," and they just constantly follow him with a notebook and they write stuff down. And Ari Spears was making the point where it's like, for example, they all love Biggie. Right. He was telling Sway, he was like, for example, Matt, he sang a Biggie lyric. He was like, if you found out this lyric wasn't made by Biggie, is it still great? And I feel like that's one of the biggest problems with comedy. I'm not in the business, I'm just a fan of it. And I don't like the idea, to me at the very least, that you have someone like Kevin Hart who is literally having a team of writers with him, writing everything he says, fixing everything he says, and then he just.
I got it. I have it to say.
You do.
So early on, when you're starting, you obviously write all your own stuff, right? Your sets are like 15 minutes tops, maybe, and it's like, all right, you can write that much. Then you get to the hour, you can write an hour. When you're expected to put out with people like Kevin Hart and Louis C.K. and all these other people writing teams have to put out, you need a writing team.
There's a lot of material.
There's a lot of stuff. Not that I'm saying it's like totally great. I think comics should have less specials.
I like that idea.
There are ones like, I know you said before you weren't a fan of Jerry Seinfeld. I don't think he has a writing team.
That and it's same thing. Like I don't think Carlin had a writing team. Patrice O'Neill didn't have a writing team.
I mean, Carlin. They're the older ones that have writing teams, but like the newer ones, I get it. I understand. Now you're expected to have more specials and stuff. I bet you Chappelle doesn't have one.
Agreed.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention Dave Chappelle.
Yeah,
we certainly mentioned him first. He's basically untouchable.
I don't think a lot of them probably don't, but the more pop comedians, you get to the point where you kind of need one, and it is what it is, because it is not easy, even if you have all the jokes written for you, going out there and telling them properly and getting laughs and this, that, or the other thing. Because you got to think, so on late night, all their jokes are done by writing teams.
I hate those late show hosts.
I know.
They're all fucking sellouts.
But I feel like a lot of comedians, like
Dave Letterman is not a sellout. The rest of them are saying.
Yeah, no, some of them are
He's
cool.
the one.
I like Conan too. He's
Conan's less of a sellout.
Yeah.
Because listening to interviews of other comedians and they gripe about the fact that they don't have writing teams and a lot of other comedians do. Like, for example, do you feel like when has the whole idea of in comedy is the idea of having a writing team acceptable, or is it still is it frowned upon?
I believe it's frowned upon by a lot of people, but I think it should be more acceptable, because you have to understand when you get to a certain point, it's tough. And if you're doing it and it's your livelihood, because a lot of people who shit on it, it isn't their main livelihood, or like Ari Spears, no offense to Ari Spears, great comic, but he's still a guy who shows up at clubs and does 15 minutes and gets paid. He's not being told, hey, show up and do an hour. When you're doing hours and you have to tour and you have to do specials and you have to do this, that, and the other thing, you need more material and you need that writing team. That's it. A lot of the more working comics like Norm or Colin Quinn or any of those guys who are known as like the comics comic and they're working comics, they have like an hour special or two over their whole career. Most of their career is showing up at a club and doing a half hour.
And Opie and Anthony McCollum.
Yeah, well, yeah, but going on shows is
true,
different,
true,
yeah. Or doing late night and doing 5 minutes on late night.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys without writing teams, they're not doing hours every week. Kevin Hart probably has like 6 hour specials at this point.
True. Now, now let me ask you, with the comedians, you would say that with the comedians that look down upon other comedians having a writing team, how much would you say it's more? They're more envious because it's just not them being king shit of the game, or is it more of their kind of sense tainting the craft of comedy?
I think there are people who legitimately believe it's tainting the craft, but I think most of them it's jealousy. Like
what you were saying before, how there's a lot of people who are not being authentic and they're just like being whatever because they know it's like the fad at the time. Like how you were saying they'd be ultra conservative or they would go ultra woke, even though they're not.
As long as Kevin Hart sits in the writers' room with these people and goes through every joke and adds his own spins and stuff, I don't see a problem with it. Hey man, Louis C.K. was on Chris Rock's writing team. People get starts on writing teams, and it's just one of those things where when you're famous, when you're super famous and that's your life, it's a necessary evil. Back on the Kevin Hart and everybody thing, like the writing team thing, it's never going to go away. Your mega comics are always going to have writing teams, and they have for longer. Eddie Murphy didn't write a single one of his jokes on either of his special.
Really?
Didn't Paul Mooney write a lot?
Paul Mooney wrote all of them.
Really? Raw and Delirious?
Was Larry David stand-up, or he just a writer?
Oh, he bombed at doing
Did he?
stand-up.
See, sometimes some people just better at
There are
writing it,
people who can't do stand-up and start writing. There are people, because the thing is, there are also people who can't write and are good at stand-up. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't think it really taints the craft. Because, like, Eddie Murphy and Delirious and Raw, those are known as two of the best specials ever. And he goes up there and murders, and they're remembered. But he can't write the jokes, because some people can't write the jokes, but they can perform the material. Exactly. And some people can't perform the material, but they can write the jokes. No offense to Paul Mooney, who was also a good stand-up comedian. But that's what I'm saying. I don't think it should be as hated as it is. It is what it is. Some people got it, some people don't. And some people need that writing team.
Yeah.
Because a lot of actors and stuff, will do stand-up and have the writing team and be good at it, but they can't write a joke for their lives.
Yeah, I brought up Larry David because I love Curb Your Enthusiasm.
He's a great writer,
so
terrible comedian.
Yeah.
He was terrible. He says he's terrible, and
I like how he admits it.
I mean, you gotta, if you want to make
He's
it.
a pretty open dude, I feel like.
You gotta admit your faults.
Yeah.
You both you guys should watch the Larry Sanders Show.
I've been told by multiple people.
It
to
is
watch
something.
That show.
It goes into half the things we've said.
Now,
It's something.
What about like writers for like shows like Seth MacFarlane, the guys from South Park? I forget their Matt.
Trey
you
and
think
Matt.
they could do stand up? Have they done stand up or?
No, I think
don't
they. From what I've watched about them is they've always kind of wanted to do like cartoons animation, because I think they meant it.
I don't think they can. I think Seth probably can.
Okay.
Because I've seen him host stuff and he's done well.
I was gonna say maybe the guys from South Park would be able to do it a little better, only because they have that Broadway play.
But they're not in it.
Right, but I feel like they know how to do a live, like, in person kind of comedy thing. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
if they would fund one and they would set everything up, and but if it was them delivering the jokes, you know what I mean?
I mean, they were okay in the movies they had.
Maybe if they did like the voices.
I like it. I prefer Orgasmo.
If they took like Randy,
Orgasmo is quite a ridiculous movie. But yeah, a lot of those writers for shows, like, there are shows where you don't even know the creators. Like there's shows before, like Seinfeld, no one knew who the writers of things were. That was a later thing. No one knew who the writers were of, like, All in the Family or Cheers or whatever.
It's like, not to cut you off, but I didn't know, like, for example, a lot of TV writers also write for WWE. Like, I never knew Patrice O'Neal wrote for WWE until, well, it was only for a week, but the fact that he wrote for WWE
One thing that is terrifying, TV writers should never be writing professional wrestling. It should be 1 to 3 guys with a notebook in a room. That's how wrestling's supposed to work. I'm not going to get too into it.
That makes sense.
Vince, if you're watching, don't.
Well, no, he'll never stop. But anyone else, please don't hire writers.
Since we've been talking about comedy most of this episode, did you guys see the new Jackass Forever movie?
No, and don't spoil any of the skits.
I'll be honest, I have never been the hugest Jackass fan. I like it to an extent, but I really liked Johnny Knoxville made a movie that he called The Passion Project that no one knew about like a couple years ago.
I knew Bad Grandpa.
No, he made a movie called Action Point. Based on the theme park Action Park that used to be in New Jersey.
Oh, it was like the most dangerous.
Yeah,
like,
he made a movie
right? Yeah.
based on it, and it's so funny, but it totally tanked. It was on Hulu for a while, but I don't know where it is now.
I'll give it a
Action
watch.
Point.
Action Point.
Yeah, it was really good. I like the people on Jackass better than I like Jackass.
Yeah. Okay, this is
definitely go see it though. They got like some new people, some guest stars like celebrities. It's fun.
I want to. But speaking of Jackass, people don't call me nuts. I think Johnny Knoxville would be a great Joker.
I think he'd be good. I think
William Dafoe would be better.
I was saying that to Duca on the walk to the store. 100%, in my opinion. That's
like,
why I want
the next Joker. If it's gonna be anybody, I'd want it to be him.
I'm kind of done with the Joker. Like, I feel like
there's so many different interpretations.
I want to see Mr. Freeze.
I'd rather a good Mr. Freeze.
Yeah,
a better Mr. Freeze, because Schwarzenegger.
I want to see a live action. We don't really have many Robins. There's not a whole lot of Robins.
There's not a whole lot of Robins there.
Except for Christopher McDonald, right?
Chris O'Donnell and Burt Ward from the original.
I wouldn't be surprised, depending on how long they want to keep this new Batman movie going on.
I have heard that
Maybe they'll
this is going to
introduce
be a
Robin,
one-off.
right?
A one-off?
Just one?
I'm happy. I'm happy with
I've
that.
heard that
Sometimes
with
that's how it
Batman,
should
they're
be.
going to go, like, different. They're going to start doing, like, more Elseworld-style Batman stuff.
Yeah, okay, so now this goes to what I think I was saying to you, I was saying to somebody else. Yes. I was making the point the only way that DC could win. I want to, like, for example, all the comic book, all the superhero movies you're making, it's all linear.
Yeah.
What I want to start to see is just a comic book movie just based on certain issues. Like, for example, I want them to make a Batman movie, just a runoff, of Batman versus the Punisher. If you ever read that comic,
right.
when the
You said
Punisher
that
comes
last
to
podcast,
the
yeah.
Punisher comes to Gotham and
That would
tries
be
to kill
cool.
Joker, that would be awesome.
Right.
And because you understand, okay, I don't need to watch 40 other movies in order to enjoy this
Because you already
one.
know who these two characters are.
Yes, and I'm happy with the new Batman movie, and some people were giving them shit because of it. They were saying they were upset about the fact that this one's not an origin story. They're not showing the death of his parents.
Yeah, but we've seen it so many times.
That's
like,
my point, and I feel like if you're they're for years they placated to people they placated to an audience as if that audience never read a Batman comic, never watched the shows, never knew anything about the backstory. And I just want to make this point because I get so frustrated because I wanted to watch Justice League. I wanted to like those movies, and in my personal opinion, they sucked. And the reason why they did
Snyder
suck,
Cut was a little better.
no, not even with that. That whole
Too long.
Not even with too long. Not the Snyder Cut. That whole world sucked because
I know.
they didn't do it correctly.
They did it too fast.
And
too.
I'm calling it right now, and I've been saying it for years. What they should have done was, Man of Steel should have been Man of Steel. They did it correctly. First movie. The second movie should have been, excuse me,
like a new Batman.
should have been a solo Batman movie.
Yeah.
And that introduced
Instead of bringing him into Batman versus
yes,
Superman, that was dumb.
But hold that point. So what would happen is that Batman movie will introduce Harley Quinn, Joker, Gotham,
yeah,
that
there
whole
you go.
world.
Right.
And at the end of that movie, the solo Batman movie, Batman would be in the Batcave, and he would see General Zod's message, and then that would make him realize, like, who's this that someone like Superman exists. Then you go into, or if you wanted to, you could have made Wonder Woman and then go into Batman versus Superman. You could have done that, but they didn't. They automatically rushed into Batman versus Superman. There was no tense build-up like
with
Marvel,
that movie,
and I don't like Marvel.
And with that movie, it didn't, like you were saying before, it didn't have to be an origin story. It still could have worked out like great. You know?
Not at all. It didn't have to be.
Didn't need it, you know.
And I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent.
No, it's fine.
I hate the fact that people think Joker's a good movie. I don't like the Joker. I saw that movie. I hyped that movie up.
Didn't like it?
I didn't like it.
Shit. I'm in it, guys.
Oh, he is in it. He actually is in the Joker.
I try to do a little background acting. I get to see I'm wearing a mask though. I can't like prove it, but I am in it.
No, but it's still cool.
Yeah.
The Joker would have been better if it wasn't a direct ripoff of the King of Comedy, but
Yeah, agreed. But the one thing that bothers me about the Joker was the director. The director came out. So when the trailer came out and then the premise of the movie came out, people were saying, "Oh, like how can you have a Batman movie without Joker movie without Batman, this and that?" And then the director came out and said, "This is not a comic books movie. This is not a comic book story. There's no affiliation." That's what the director said. Then the movie came out, and I don't know if he's aware. He was full of shit because he had the most vital part of Batman in it. And it's not Bruce Wayne, it's not Alfred, and it's not the Joker. It's Gotham. Gotham City is the most important aspect of the Batman universe.
Right.
It's that city. And I hated the fact that he went back on everything he said, that this wasn't supposed to be remotely related to the comics. But then he came out and said, "No, it is." And I was at a bar in the city, and I was pre-gaming before I was going to go see the movie, and the bartender at the place I was at, she was German, She was like, I already saw it. We were bullshitting. She was like, yeah, man, I already saw Joker. She was like, it was one of the most violent movies I have ever seen. And she was like, I had to go home and binge watch Friends to like bath it off. And I'll say it, and then I was like, okay.
It's definitely pretty dramatic.
Not at all. Not at all. Comparing to, let me tell you something. I've seen movies with brutal rape scenes. I've seen movies that
That's a good point, yeah.
brutal violence in it. The Joker has what? He shoots a TV host. He shoots what? He shoots. Sorry, spoilers if you didn't see it.
Well, by now.
Sorry, you
yeah.
have to fuck yourself. But if he shoots, okay,
Yeah,
he
it's
shoots
really
Robert
nothing
De Niro.
compared to some other movies for
Yeah,
sure.
he
Like,
shoots Robert De Niro. He shoots the three guys in the
guy
bank.
deserved it anyway.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They did a whole Fight Club twist where he was like everything was fake halfway through. The movie should have just been, if they really, really, really wanted to push it, the movie should have been about a guy. They should have called the movie Arthur, and the movie should have been about.
A lot of people did say that. I agree.
It should have been
do
called
agree.
Arthur, and the movie should have been about a real person, about a guy who
inspired the
is infatuated by the comic book character.
Oh, that's
Joker,
cool too. Okay.
And he
in
in real life does some like the kid in Aurora.
See,
like
this is why you're a writer, Pete.
No, but it's not even with writing, but it just makes it would have made sense.
No, it would.
Because that's how you would.
I like that idea.
You know, in the shape of the world's in regardless of how you feel on whatever side, but it is a talked about issue. But still, at the end of the day, the director did not make that movie come across as if it was going to be a comic book movie. And then it came out, and Joaquin got the Oscar. His performance was good. I'm not gonna lie, his performance wasn't the problem with the movie. It was just I wanted to walk out, and I didn't want to walk out of that movie.
You were talking about how this new Batman might be a one and done.
Sorry about that rant.
They were saying that same thing about Joker, and now there's talk that it might be a sequel. Now, at first I was like, oh, that's cool, but at the same time, like, I think it is better as a one and done. Like, if they didn't make a sequel, that's not going to bother me because I expected them not to. But now apparently they might. I don't know how I feel about that either. You know, like I'll definitely go see it. Fuck it, but I don't know. Yo, guys, I think we covered a lot of fun topics today.
Yeah,
to say the least. Right?
It was good.
It was fun.
And before we go, our guest, would you like to say some last words?
Thank you guys for having me on. This is a lot of fun. Like I said, check out my YouTube for Cocaine Pizza Party, a roast battle with a cam girl, and my actual comedy. Keep it locked for stuff on the Borough Comedy Festival, and watch Drawn Together. That's it.
What was the cam girl's name again?
Gina Hyena.
Gina.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
And on that note, have a good night,
Thanks for
folks.
watching, guys.
Thanks for watching.
Yep, that was good.